One man, one Murloc, one giant angry badger. This is Blue Please. It begins now. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. Welcome to a fun-packed show of fun. Fun is guaranteed, and in fact, fun is required. If you do not have fun, pain will ensue. Trust me. Fun is mandatory here. Okay, right, well, I've got a lot of things to come up in this show. First. Interview with the mighty Oxhorn coming up later in the show. 25 minutes of glorious Oxhorn. What more could you possibly ask for? You had the opportunity last week to submit questions in a thread on our forums, and those questions were taken into account, as many of them were asked as possible. And the interview is bundled up and ready to go, and I'll be playing that a little bit later on in the show. I also have the announcement of the winners of the Epic giveaway. Yes, I did just say... Epic! Wonderful! Fantastic! Yes. However, I want to do this a little bit different. Instead of simply announcing the winners right now, I'm gonna go and do the rolls in-game. Literally, the loot will be rolled for. Now, right now, on the server Mazrigo, the PvP server in Europe, my home realm of awesome, I am standing on the roof of the Orgrimmar Bank. I'm standing next to a Murky and an image of Archmage Vargoth. Yes. The image of Archmage Vargoth. Samples make me hilarious. You can come, roll a character, come and stand on the bank with me. And you'll be able to get to see the rolls live. There were a total of 50 people who submitted the correct answers, many more that did not. Shame on them, shame on them. So come along to Mazrigo EU, roll a Horde-side character, and run up to Orgrimmar and join me on the bank roof for the live prize draw a little bit later on in the show. However, lots of other things to come up, including Rap in the Forums, Nupcake News, and, of course, Ask the Murloc. Now, a concept I shamelessly ripped off Octel Hordak, which is coming up right after my show today. I'm going to call it... Second Wind! Yes, I captured a gnome and forced him to do that under duress. Second Wind. Last week, I introduced a concept, a topic. This week, I'm going to round it up and see what other information we've managed to gather in the past week and carry the topic on. Continuity from one show to another. It's kind of like Lost, only this has a plot. Right. So, what did we cover last week? Last week, we talked about the Black Temple. Specifically, what do we know about the Black Temple? Our conclusion, at least at that point, was absolutely nothing. Nothing whatsoever. Couldn't find a single thing. This week, however, Blizzard, in their infinite mercies, have released some information. And it consists of 5 lines. And a picture, which is a screenshot from in-game. So let's go to worldofwarcraft.com. Come on, sit down on my knee and read along. Read along with Total Biscuit, the under development page on worldofwarcraft.com. You will see the Black Temple. Originally founded as a Draenei temple, this plot has been conquered and despoiled many times throughout the history of the Outland. Blah, 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 blah. Right, a little bit of lore, and 4 lines of features, including... It's a 25-man raid dungeon, which we already knew. Explore an ancient site steeped in Warcraft lore, at which point we will proceed to butcher it by killing off one of the major characters in the Warcraft universe. Over and over and over again. Gain access to more than 100 new rare and epic items. Rare? Only rare? Where's me epics? Give me my purples. Including tier 6 armor sets, which we already knew. Choose your path through a non-linear level 70 raid dungeon as you make your way to face Illidan himself, who is sitting in a corner looking very upset. Choose your path. Like, choose your own adventure, those little books you used to get as a kid, where pretty much invariably you'd die in one form or another. No matter what you were doing, it didn't matter if it was choose your own way through your English degree, or choose your own pet budgie. Pretty much 9 out of 10 endings involved you dying horribly. True story. So, Warcraft lore. I'm not even going to touch it. I don't touch lore whatsoever. The concept itself is cool. It really is. It's a nice place to have a dungeon. It's like... I mean, let's look at, like, the Molten Core. Probably the worst place to ever put a dungeon. Completely and totally out of the way. Like, oh, the Molten Core, which no one can get into or out of. What a waste of time. It's not like it's directly threatening civilization, is it? Or Blackwing Lair. Stuck on the top of a mountain. Fair enough, okay, I can live with that. That's where you'd probably put your home, although the sulfuric fumes are probably not particularly pleasant. They smell like eggs. Not where, if I was the Lord and Master of the Black Dragonfly, I would choose to put my home. Not acceptable. But, yeah, I can live with that. Okay, that's fair enough. Now, Anchorage! Anchorage is down in Silithis. Yes, Silithis. Silithist. That's fair enough. That's in a reasonable place. It was all blocked off, and that was cool. And Naxxramas, of course, in the Plague Lands, which is also cool. Although, were I him, I would go and maybe raise some little town like, I don't know, someone nowhere cares about, like Darnassus. Go and kill them. Kill them all, slaughter them. Genocide. And fun and kittens. Brilliant. Now, Black Temple, it's in a place where you would expect it to be. It's in the top level zone in the Outlands. It's a big friggin' temple, and it's huge. At least it looks that way from the inside. Now, that's not a lot of information to go on, is it? Well, I mean, we already knew Tier 6 was going to drop there anyway. It's pretty logical. I mean, where else was it going to drop exactly? It's not really rocket science. What interests me is choose your path through a non-linear level 70 raid dungeon. Choose your path. Okay. So what you're basically telling me is that it's completely different to every other zone that you've put in, at least so far, which is pretty much A to B. A to B. Which is fine, to be honest. That's cool, because in a dungeon there's not a massive amount to see. I mean, you can admire the scenery, but everyone knows why you're there. It's not like you're navigating in a labyrinth in which one wrong turn may spell disaster. There's no element of risk in where you are within the dungeon. It's what you're fighting. That's what you're really concerned about. So, non-linear. Interesting. Now, what do we already know about non-linear dungeons? Let's have a look at the current raid dungeons. Non-linear. Zul'Gurub to some degree. Non-linear, yeah? You've got 5 bosses which can be killed in any order, and then you've got your end boss plus your optionals, yeah? That's pretty non-linear, I would say. You can choose your way there, although there are particularly logical ways which you would go. Let's see, Molten Core, for instance. Molten Core, completely and totally linear. A to B, to C, to E to D, all the way down to Mr. Majordomo. Kill Majordomo, go kill Rag. No real optional bosses in there whatsoever. Unless you want to be absolutely suicidal and try and bypass Gar. Good luck with that. So, that's not non-linear, by any stretch of the imagination. Blackwing Lair. Linear, completely linear. It's from the bottom to the top. You've got to go up there. You don't even have a choice in the matter. It's to the degree where you can't even get through to the second room without killing the first boss, and you can't get through to the third room without killing the second boss, and you can't get through to the next room without killing Broodlord Lashlier. Yep, that's the way it is. It's completely and totally linear. Anchorage 20 and 40. Anchorage 20, yeah, relatively non-linear, but there's not all that many bosses in it. You've got to kill boss 1 and 2, yeah? Then you can go and kill a Syrian if you want and bypass everything else. That's not so much non-linear as lots of optionals. Yeah, you're still going to end up killing the boss which actually gives you the most loot, which is the one at the end. Anchorage 40, relatively linear with a couple of optionals. You're looking at Oro and Viscidius and the Bug Trio as optionals, and everything else you've got to get through. Don't really have a choice in the matter there. Now, Naxxramas is probably the most non-linear. But is it really? I mean, you've got 4 wings. You can take those 4 wings down in any order you choose. Once those wings are defeated, you get to go and do 4 horsemen. Once the 4 horsemen are defeated, you can then access Sapphiron's lair through the teleporter, if I remember correctly. Once you kill Saf, you can go and take Kel'Thuzad down. Now, just how non-linear is that? Because, I mean, non-linear indicates to me that you go from point A, and when you reach point B, well, then you can go to point C, D, E, F. But you're always going to end up at point G. You're always going to end up at the end of the instance. I mean, just how non-linear is that? It does make me wonder. I mean, wouldn't non-linear indicate that perhaps you choose your path and you take down one of several bosses as your end boss? I mean, it's like saying that, you know, Final Fantasy is non-linear. Final Fantasy is never non-linear. Final Fantasy is always a case of you go from point A to point B to point C, you go and defeat a final boss, but there's various paths you can take to it, but you always end up at the same destination. What is really non-linear? I mean, there's not a lot of non-linear games out. There really aren't. Because non-linear indicates that you don't reach the same conclusion, surely. That you're not led by the nose. Now, in my honest opinion, through Black Temple, unless there are multiple end bosses, which we know there aren't, because Illidan is the end boss, that would indicate to me that it is pretty dang linear, no matter how much you try and say, oh, it's non-linear, in the same way that Nax is non-linear. Yeah, Nax is non-linear to the degree that you can kill the wings in any order you wish, but you're still going to have to kill 4 Horsemen Sapphiron and then Kel'Thuzad in that order to beat the instance. Yep, you don't really have a choice in that matter. Okay. So, it does make me wonder whether or not non-linear is simply a term they're throwing around there. They're just throwing it out to say, hey, we're awesome. Or whether it's actually going to be non-linear to some degree, whether there is going to be several conclusions to beating the instance. It would be interesting to see. It really would. But the problem is, since they put Illidan up there as the Imber raid boss for Outland, how exactly are they going to work that? How is that going to function? It's difficult. It's a really difficult thing to do. I mean, can that even be done in design? Well, yeah, it can. I mean, to say the most non-linear boss fight that I can personally think of would probably be the Bug Trio. Yeah? Killing the Bug Trio in different orders gives you different results. But you can't have all 3 at the same time. Yeah? You can either kill Vem, Kree, or Yauj at the end. Yeah? Or you can kill Vem, Kree, or Yauj at the beginning. And you can kill Vem, Kree, or Yauj in the middle. That order determines, specifically the one that dies last, determines what loot you get. Now, that's about as non-linear as WoW raiding has ever really got. Because that's a conscious choice that you had to make, and you are denied 2 other choices. Non-linear, in my honest opinion, is about denying you an option. Yeah? You take a choice, and that choice has a consequence. Yeah? And that forever affects the rest of your story. The rest of the game, and in this case, the rest of the raid. So if you were to go and kill this boss, maybe this boss is no longer available to you. Which would make it interesting. They could make it non-linear that way. Say you've got 8 bosses plus Illidan, yeah? You can only ever kill 4 of those. Take another example of a game which, in my opinion, is probably the best example, because non-linearity is a concept which is very, very vague. Very vague, even in games. Games say, oh, this game is non-linear. But people say, well, you still go and do this and this and this. It's non-linear. Well, there is a degree of linearity in everything. There has to be. You can't have something that's completely non-linear, because it would just be random and completely inexplicable. That's not going to work. So what you need, what you actually need, is to take the idea of, yeah, you're going to have to go and beat that boss at the end, and then have as many different ways to do that which have consequences. I mean, there was a Saturn fighting game called Guardian Heroes. Now, you know, side-scrolling brawlers tend to be pretty damn linear. This one had about 10 different endings, and it had 30 episodes, but you could only ever play 10 of them any given way through, yeah? That's non-linear. That's the non-linear linear game. That's about as non-linear as you're going to get, without it being simply random and without form and void. That's really as far as you can go with raiding. If you were to do that, so say, well, let's just, you know, replace the numbers. 30 bosses, you can only kill 10 any given time, and depending on which ones you kill, depends on what loot you get, and depends what your ending encounter is, because that's how it worked in that game. Yeah? That's a concept that, in my opinion, works. But I can't really see them doing that. But then again, I haven't seen it yet. They may do that. I would hope that by non-linear, they don't just mean Nax Ramus or Zul'Gurub, because that's not non-linear. You've still got the same objective, and that's to kill Kel'Thuzad, and you're still going to have to kill all the bosses to do it. You just do them in a different order, and that doesn't affect what loot you get at all. So, to be honest, there is absolutely no consequence to clearing the Plague Wing instead of the Necro Wing first. There isn't. There is no consequence to it whatsoever. Yeah? So, that's my idea And that's the way that I think that non-linearity can be implemented. Coming up in the rest of the show, we have many other topics and features, including Ask the Murloc, Nubcake News, Rap in the Forums, and our Oxon interview, which will be coming up right after this. Now, I got a song sent in to me. It was very, very scary. It was actually composed by Mr. Mac Harbour guy. He did a Total Biscuit song, which is quite frightening. I am really, really scared.
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
It's called Snacky 9000, and I'm going to play it right now for you. It's very disturbing indeed. Now, come along, come all to the As We Go realm. Come to Orgrimmar to the bank roof, because I will be rolling. Literally, I'll be announcing the winners of our amazing competition. You're listening to Blue Please here on WoW Radio with myself, Total Biscuit. This is Gravity Well with Snacky 9000. I'll be back right after this. Enjoy.
Snacky.